Welcome back to the Pretty Little Death. I am the critic, Christina Lynn, here with my always bestie.
Hi, my name's Cass.
And I know we didn't talk about this before, but how was your holiday?
It was good. It was pretty low key. Up where we live, it was 116 outside. So I spent most of it indoors, but then we got a last minute invite to the people that we play D&D with every Friday um, to go barbecue with them. So that was fun. We ended up going over there and having a indoor barbecue,
Was there like a
and it
Foreman
was
grill or something?
no. Unfortunately, one of them had to brave the storm outside every few minutes, but also he has one of those thermometers that connects to your phone,
Okay.
so you could just check that instead of having to sit out there. So
Oh,
it's
that's
good.
smart. That's really smart.
Hmm.
I
How
did
about
a
yours?
I did a road trip. We
Yeah.
went to go visit friends. It
Hmm.
was an 8 hour drive one way. I did half on the way there, and then I drove all 8 hours back. But thankfully, it was
That's
in
a
the.
long
Oh
time.
my gosh. My legs were so swollen. Like, I hadn't realized that your legs could get swollen from driving for so long, but when we came upstairs, like, I took my sandals off. I bought new sandals for this trip. I actually bought new
Hmm.
shoes for it because I did not want to walk around in like my Doc Martens or anything like that. Um,
For sure.
because we were gonna go to the beach and things. Like, needed some kind
Yeah.
of good. And I didn't want to wear my
Cute new
Crocs.
beach gear.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I have old Crocs that I don't think you can get anymore. They look like jelly sandals. Like, you
Oh, I
remember
know those
jellies?
ones.
You remember jellies? Yeah, I have
Yes.
a Croc set of that I bought
Cool.
15 years ago from a thrift store, and I still have them. They are some of my, like, in the summer they're my work shoes because I have
Hmm.
plantar fasciitis, and it actually, the cushion on them is really good for that. But
Hmm.
I didn't want to wear those down to the beach because,
Definitely not.
like, they didn't go with any of my outfits or nothing like that. So I bought some new sandals. But when I got home and I
Cute.
took them off, the braiding for the sandals had imprinted in the top of my foot
Oh
because I had been
no.
driving for 8 hours.
Yeah,
Like,
yep.
yeah. So we went down. The nieces named the Jeep, and it hadn't
Ooh,
been named yet. They
what
na-
did they name her?
they named her Mooney because they have a little black
Oh,
cat
that's
and I have a black
cute.
Jeep. Apparently, they named
Hmm.
their prior Jeep that they don't have anymore. But, like, I
Hmm.
guess they name all of their cars. Like, their van is named Vanessa, which, when our friend told
Silly. I
us what
love
it
it.
was, I was like, "That's perfect. That's like the best van name ever." Um,
Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Such
Yeah.
a dad joke.
Oh my gosh. And you know who I'm talking about. He's nothing but dad jokes.
Yes,
Like,
yes, yes.
he and my husband get along great because it was just like back and forth dad
Oh
jokes.
yeah.
But my
Yes.
husband had to keep it clean because I got in trouble with
The
the
little ones.
nieces because of the
Ooh.
bumper sticker on the back of my car.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
bumper
right.
sticker on the back of
Yep,
the
I know which
car
one. Yep.
is it says, "If you're going to ride my ass, you might as well, or if you're gonna ride my ass, at least pull my hair." And they wanted to know why I had a bad word on the back of the Jeep.
Oof. Oof.
I let their
That's
parents explain that one.
embarrassing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they were saying it in the middle of the block party, so yeah, it was a.
Oh, doubly embarrassing.
But I
Just in front of
even
everybody.
like, they're old enough to read now, and I was very glad that they didn't read this or the
Yep.
Kindle for that matter, because
Oh
the Kindle
gosh.
is
I
worse.
would die. I would die.
Um, yeah. I also got talked to about smoking because,
Yeah, I
yeah.
knew that was gonna happen. I knew that was gonna
Yeah.
happen.
But as we were walking back from the beach, my husband did take the littlest one, who is the most outspoken. I love her
Hmm.
dearly, and was explaining to her, like, yes, she knows it's bad. but she
Mhm.
also is very considerate of other people, so let's not give her too much trouble. She's like, oh, is that why she's always outside by herself? And he was like, yes, because nobody else smokes and she doesn't want to, so it was a learning moment.
Mhm.
I felt really bad because like she was questioning me about it. She's like, you should. And I was like, I know. And she's like, but you should. And I was like, but
Well, when
I
you're that
know.
age, they don't
They
understand,
don't, yeah.
.
So yeah,
But I get it. Yeah.
it was a fun trip. When I got
Yeah.
back to town, and went
Mhm.
back to work, I did give myself a day to
Mhm.
rest. Um,
Good.
but when I got back to work, I talked to the office manager and I was like, "So how was the holiday?" And she was like, "It was hell. It was hell. It was hot, and it was gross. How was it down there?" I was
It
like,
was
"Well,
evil.
it was the high of like 76,
A
so."
balmy
Mhm.
76.
And she was like, "Well, I bet you wish you were back there now." And I was like, "Yes, I do." Thankfully, I
Absolutely.
haven't looked at it today, but thankfully, our heat advisory ended yesterday. If it got extended again,
Well, apparently it's supposed to be next week.
I
This
was
week is gonna be fine, but then next week's gonna be evil again.
so the state fair started on Friday, and I was really
Yeah.
not that we were going to go this week, the first
Mhm.
week of the fair, because we always go. We go every year. Um, I was hoping that maybe it would stay at least below triple digits. So I'm kind of glad that we're going later. Like I think we're going
Yeah.
for the last weekend of the fair. I'm
Okay.
hoping, hoping it's not absolutely gonna like burn me to a crisp. I mean, I can hope. I can hope.
I've been getting sunburnt just from the 2-minute walks from the place where I work to the shed where I have to get inventory. Um, just 2 minutes. And I like
Oh.
come back inside and I just realized the other day I looked down at my arms and they're red. I'm like, cool. Love my fair Dutch
Yeah.
jeans.
Yeah.
They're great.
I had a sunburn on my. Actually, you can still kind of see it. Sunburn on my
Yeah.
elbow from from being
Driving.
from driving. That's my driver's side arm. So that's been fun. Um, yeah.
so,
So,
so.
all right. Before we get into it, we'd like to let you guys know, if you haven't heard already, we have a podcast. It's all of our
Yay.
episodes on YouTube now in podcast format. On almost anywhere you get your podcast, you're going to be able to find us. It's the same name, it's the same
Mhm.
imagery. So, our lovely new icons, our new graphics provided by the lovely Bestie. You'll be able to notice if you see it, you'll know it's us. Okay. But on top of that, we're launching our Discord channel. We have enough people subscribed into our YouTube and so many already downloading our podcast that we wanted to open up the community. So please
Yes.
join our Discord. There's going to be a link in the description, but I believe you'll be able to also search it. It's the same name. We're keeping the name same across all platforms. You look for
Right.
us
Yeah.
on Instagram, it's the same name, but we have underscores because apparently somebody else already took our name. I don't know
Ooh.
who, but again, new graphics, same across the board. You'll be able to join
Yeah.
us, talk to us on Discord, give us ideas for our next reads because I read so much that
Mhm.
I am running out of things to read, and I have a full
Yes.
bookshelf that I need to get through too. So we'd love
Yep.
to hear from you. Please join us on Discord.
Yes. Please join us. We'd love to hear your suggestions and
And your
hear your voice.
comments.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're going to have some goodies come up in the future that we're really excited about too. We're thinking
Yeah.
forward. Um, Speaking of thinking forward,
Mhm.
we're going to start doing this, okay? Because we did this for Akatar. And it really worked
Yep.
out for us. We really enjoyed it. It's not going to be our book of the month. It's just going to be a series that we found out that we enjoyed, or maybe didn't
Mhm.
enjoy, but we have some opinions about. We're not quite sure on what the specifics of what are what are getting us to do these
Yeah.
these these series, but we're open to suggestions on Discord.
Mhm.
Please let us know, or in the comments below. That's great here on YouTube. Um, just just let us know. So we finished Akatar. Well,
Mhm.
Cass finished Akatar. I gave up on Akatar because
You
it's
did,
trash.
yes.
It's trash. Sorry. Same with Fourth Wing. I couldn't stand that. Oh, when we were down there,
I haven't read the second one yet.
so we were in their spare room and they had a copy, a hard copy of Fourth Wing. And I
Yep.
was like, please tell me you guys aren't reading that. And they were like, well, we were going to. And I was like,
Do you want
maybe.
to?
Do you really want to? And they were like, why? So I was telling the hostess, who was actually, she was like, oh, yeah, the neighborhood ladies are talking about it. And I was like, I was like, do you want to
I understand.
know?
Yeah.
Do you want to know? And she's like, what? And I was like, it is smutty. And she's like, okay. I said, but it's like a YA high school smut. And she was like,
Yep.
oh, that's not what I'm looking for. And I was like, they were going to read it together, which I think is
Okay.
incredibly sweet.
That's so cute.
It's so,
That's very
those
cute.
two, I will say this right now, those two relationship goals, okay?
Yes,
I
definitely,
love them
100%.
to death. We're talking about going on a cruise next year, even.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that would be really fun.
I think
Yes.
you and your husband should join us, to be honest.
I'm not sure he will be
I
down.
know.
I I'm down.
I mean,
You know me, but
he's my husband is already like, are you sure this does not sound like it is?
it's more fun with people.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. So yeah, I was like, I don't know if you guys are gonna want to read that. I was like, you should. She's like, well, all the ladies are saying that it's really good, and I was like, are all the ladies, younger? She's like, oh, I mean, they live on base. Okay, they live on
Yeah.
base.
So they're younger.
So they
Well, not
tend, not
necessarily, but
necessarily, but a lot of them are, and
mhm.
I mean, I got to see quite a few of them at the block party, which was
Yeah,
amazing. That was awesome. Um,
that's cool.
but I was like, let's just say that the people that really, really like this have never read a classic. And she was like, oh. I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So, I mean, we'll talk about series like that, whether it's good or bad or whatever. That's what we're here for. This
I
series, though, what were
uh-huh.
you going to say? Go back, go back. What were you going to say?
Well, what I was gonna say is, if I think that they should read it together still, because I enjoyed it up until the ending.
Yeah.
Uh, because it's very Hunger Gamesy, I guess.
But that's still
Like
why, that's very YA.
again, it's definitely YA.
Yeah.
I don't. I think maybe they should read it as a kind of a joke read, maybe.
Okay. Well,
And I think they might. They
if
might.
they're listening, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe they'll hear this and they'll hear that. So,
Yeah. Anyway,
anyways,
moving on.
so we did find a series. It wasn't. I don't remember what made me send it to you. I think it was one of those things that was like on Instagram. It was an Instagram reel, and I was like, I
Oh,
sent it
really?
to
Okay.
you, and then I was like, I actually read this. I think you'll like it. It's right after you had sent me that fanfic that I
Yes,
haven't been able to start slash finish.
I get it. I'm not. You should read it eventually.
It's
I think
there.
it's
I look at it every time I go for another book, so it's there.
yeah. I think if you ever get back into the video game that it's based off of, yes, that's yeah.
Yeah.
After you play that some more,
Hmm.
um, you should definitely go back and read it because
Okay.
it's pretty real. It's pretty well written. The first chapter, not so much, but it does get better. So anyway,
Okay. So,
because it's post-apocalyptic themed,
which is right up
that's
Cass's
why you sent
alley.
it to me.
Yes.
Oh, just
And I had read this.
100%.
I had read this when it first came out. It was highly recommended through Kindle. I believe it's
Okay.
available on Kindle Unlimited. Uh,
It is.
why don't you give us the title and the author since you have a hard copy with you and I do not?
It is Ensnared by Rebecca Quinn. It's the Brutes of Bristlebrook series. There's 3 books that we know of. They're releasing the third one next month. It's actually going to be our August book of the month.
Which is kind of weird
Um,
for us. We don't usually take a book right in the middle or at the end of a series, but we devoured this.
uh, I usually don't read books, Christina Lynn. You have said that I am extremely slow. I know I'm slow.
I'm not trying to say that in a bad way. You
No,
savor,
no, no. It's
okay?
fine. I try to sit and savor each detail with these. This one I think I read in less than 24 hours. The second one, which I have, we're going to do another video about, I did in 48 hours. And
Yeah,
that's unheard of for me,
that
especially with like an 800-page book or whatever it is.
right. It's a thick boy.
This thick boy.
So
Um,
I
so good.
I remember sending
Clearly,
it
because
to
I
you.
purchased them.
I think we went to breakfast and you sent me Peculiar. And
Yes.
then, which is so weird because the last fanfic you sent me was also at breakfast. We were at the
Yes.
diner and you were like, oh, you got to read this. That one was
Yes.
fantastic, by the way. Peculiar is a little
So good.
so good. I've told so many people about it. And like, I was telling them when we were visiting, and she was like, I don't
Mhm.
know if I could get into it. And I was like, I didn't think
It's
so
so good
either,
though.
but it's so good.
Yeah.
And then my husband came across a reel on YouTube or something about it, and he was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I know exactly what book this is because Christina Lynn and Cass have been talking about this fanfic." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he remembers the name of it. I have told him about so many books. He never remembers the details of the names. He
Yeah.
remembered that one. Um,
That one was manacled, by the way.
yes.
If you
Oh,
hadn't,
so
uh,
good.
if you
So
haven't
good.
read it, go and read it.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Um, so this one, we were at breakfast. She sent me the fanfic, and then like 3 hours later, I was like, "You need to read this. I read the first
Mm-hmm.
book. You'll really like it. I'm reading it right now." Um,
Hmm.
and the second book is available.
Yeah.
The next day, she was like, "I'm already on the second one," and I was like, "What? That is unheard of. Like you
I did
dropped
not sleep that night.
you
I just read the book.
you dropped everything else that you were reading because I think you were in the middle of like 2 other books, including
Yes.
our book of the month,
Yep.
and it was done. Like we read them so quickly, and that was in June. That was in June. We found out.
No. May,
Was it
girl. The
May?
first one I made. Yeah, because I wrote down the dates I read.
Mm-hmm.
May 27th.
Okay, so it's close enough to June though.
Close enough. Close enough.
She read the second one. I was like, we have to wait until July. I think it was 13th, maybe the 15th for the third one.
Yeah.
And we both were like, okay, that's going to be our July pick. Done deal. And then it got pushed out. It gets pushed out
Oh,
until
so
August
upset.
15th. I have it pre-ordered. I'm pretty sure you have it pre-ordered as well. For Are you going to get the bound or are you going to get the digital?
Oh, I'm getting the bound one. I'm gonna read the paperback for the first time.
Awesome.
Uh,
So good.
yeah.
So good.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait
All right.
because yeah. So
Are you using our rules for this?
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we do have a set. Oh, that's not a good set. Some flags are missing. That one too. Oh my goodness. My cats destroy things. So, okay, here we go. So, we have a rubric for these. Every flag
Yeah.
actually means something, and when we use them so that we like switch books, the other person knows exactly why that flag, because the flag meanings are the same between the two of us. I
Right.
can already see that there are flags in that book, and I can't.
Well, yes, I have some flags, but I think yeah. Oh man. I so I didn't get this copy until recently, and I was so trying to finish the other one. I've been busy just in life in
Right.
general recently. I really wanted to reread this for this book for this video. So I kind of skimmed it. I got about a third of the way in with
Mm-hmm.
the tabs. But I am going to go do the full tab it out. I'm fairly certain on my Kindle that I do have some things, a decent amount of quotes highlighted, so I'll go through those as well. But I think we should get into the synopsis of this book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it is a post apocalyptic story for those who like those kind of settings. I know Cass does. I don't care about the settings so much. I just love a good story. I love a good
Yeah.
story, and it has to be well written. And I think we can both agree that this is set very well and it's written
Yes.
very well. And with
Yes.
care. I know we
Very
talked about
well.
that before, like authors taking some care with their writing, and this is done with some care.
Mhm.
So, what happened? How do we start? So, the world has gone through a war of some type. It's not
Yeah.
exactly explained why. Um, we know that it's been several years since the fall of Rome, if you will. It is set
Yeah.
in the U.S. Um,
Yes.
and our main character was a librarian before the world fell.
Yeah.
She lives in a cave at this point. She was a librarian. And she takes pride in her garden, her little vegetable patch, and the fact that
Hmm.
she has survived on her own for like the 7 years or something like that.
Something. It's a long time.
It's
Yeah.
quite a while, by herself.
So the what brought on the apocalypse was drones. They actually don't know where the drones came from. The reason why she's living in a cave is that the drones attack via heat signature. So if they notice any kind of living human on the ground, then they're gonna be shot and killed.
It's kind of
So
Skynet-y now that I think about it.
yes, very Skynetty, but they don't know who or what started it. I don't know
And
if
the
that's
drones
gonna
have
get
not shown
explained.
up in a while. They do say
Yeah,
that. It's
like
been like
years.
a couple of years. Well, maybe 5 years since they last saw a
Yeah.
drone. But she's still very much like on edge because not only are the drones a factor, but so are roving marauders. Um,
Yeah,
in particular,
raiders basically.
male raiders who are
Mhm.
capturing women.
Yeah,
Um, Not because this is not like an Omega verse or something like that. None of that. But for
I wouldn't have
I
read
mean,
it.
yes, you would have if it was
No,
good
I
enough.
wouldn't have.
If it was good enough, you would have. Okay, okay. Omega verse only during book of the month, but I try not to do that to you too much. I don't think I've
I
done it
know,
to
I know.
you yet, have I?
You did it one time and I DNF'd it.
Oh,
It's fine.
well. Anyways,
Anyways,
so, she's out. I think she's out checking something in the vegetable patch. Or no, we're like right in the middle of the action, if I remember correctly.
yes, this is
From
she's running away.
she's running from some
Then she
marauders.
reflects on what was happening and
Right,
how she is kicking herself for being so stupid
right.
because
Because she was
she,
so far from home, and then when
yeah,
she came back, someone was in her cave, and she's
hmm,
just on the run. And she runs into more men, and she is
yeah,
terrified. But these are not. They're not acting. They don't
they're not the
look. Their
same.
mannerisms are not the same as the people who are chasing her. They're calm. They look very well put together. Like they're not covered
They
in
look like they're part of
dirt.
like, yeah,
They
yeah, yeah,
they're
organized.
very organized. And she does get hurt, and they do stop to help her,
Hmm.
even though they can tell somebody's coming after her.
Yeah.
They are able to evade the group of them. There's three of them by a river, and she runs
Hmm.
into them, and the all four of them are able to evade the marauders, and they take her back to their camp. Um, there is the commander. I can't remember his name because I haven't looked at it. You probably know the names better than I do at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's Dom is the commander
Right.
for
Bo,
Dominic. Bo, he's the medic.
he's the
Um,
medic and Dom's best friend.
yeah. And Lucky,
Right.
who he's kind of more of a demolitions expert.
Yeah.
Who's kind of
He's a firebug.
he's a firebug,
Yeah.
and then so those are the three that she
She
meets
meets.
right
They
away.
get
Yeah.
him. They take her back to their home base, which is a very very nice swanky house that was like built into a mountain
Mhm.
years
Perfect,
prior.
perfect
Right.
place for a apocalypse
And
hideout.
she gets won over. She like won over by Lucky because he's got
Mhm.
cheese. And she's like,
Yes,
"How do you have
me,
cheese?"
me for real. If I were in an
Right?
apocalypse and someone offered me cheese, I'm going with them.
He's like, "I got goats." And she's like, "You have goats? How do you have
How?
room for goats? Like how?" He's like, "Don't
How
worry
are they
about
not
it."
dead?
Like she's like, "But the drones." He's like, "No, don't worry about it." And Bo's just like, "Just be calm. We've got this. Like,
Mhm.
let's take you back and let's get you fixed up." Um and they do. They take her back to their their base, their home.
Mhm.
Um
Mhm.
and they tell her, "Okay, there are two others here." Right? There's a total of 5.
Five. Yep.
There are two others here. We're the only ones
Jasper
here.
and Jacob.
Jasper and Jacob. Um, we have no problem with you staying with us, but you will pull your weight.
Mhm.
Plus, we have a proposition for you.
Yes. And this is where the smut
This is
starts.
where the smuts. This is
This
really
is,
where it
make
gets.
no mistake,
This is
this is a smut
smutty
book.
book. This is a smutty series, but it's so much deeper
Very.
than that. Like
It's so good.
it's so
So good.
good. Each of the
The
male
characters are
they
just
they
amazing.
each one of them have their own personality, their own drives. Like it's very
Mhm.
rare to find a contemporary book in this genre of romance um where the male characters have different personalities. I think we were just talking about it.
And different agendas
Right.
and like that don't revolve around the main character. And it's just very,
They
and
don't
as we
blend. Like that's the thing
no,
is like each one of the I may not be able to remember their name, but I can remember what each one of those guys is like.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
not easy
because they're different.
to find in
Hmm.
these in some of the things we read these days. So Dom is like, "This is the deal, and
Hmm.
if you don't take it, then you got to leave it. We can't
Yeah,
just carry around dead weight." Now the deal is this: there are 5 men that have not had the touch of, we'll say,
a
the
woman over
touch of a
7 years.
woman in I want to say it was more like
Well, a couple of
6.
them.
I think it was
Only
6.
two
Right.
had the
That's
pleasure
true.
of what's her face.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
But
they're like, "We'll set up a schedule, but that's going to be your primary job is, just to be whatever each one of us needs."
yeah,
Um, and she's like, "Okay, well, I can't go back out there. This is a pretty sweet setup. Like, they are all ex-military. All of them are ex-military. They were
yeah.
all in a unit together. Um,
Mm,
tangentially. Um,
tangentially,
uh, because even Jasper, he was retired at the time, but
he was retired.
he was a retired officer, but he was still tangentially connected to the rest of the unit. And that's actually his home.
Well, so we're not going to get to it yet,
Nope, not gonna
but
get to
they
it yet.
meet. Yeah, they all
Um,
meet up for certain circumstances. So,
yes. Um,
uh,
so Dom was like, "I'm doing this for everybody else. I don't really want a relationship with her. She'll just be a body if I need it. I don't like." He
he
says
sees
this
her as
to
useless, like dead weight. Yeah.
exactly, like she's a librarian, for Christ's sake. What good
Oh,
is
they
she?
shot dead the people that were following her, by the way.
Yes,
Just in cold blood,
yes.
just very easily, pow, 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 all
Oh
three
yeah,
dead.
they
Yeah.
were like they weren't seals. They were rangers. They were rangers. That's what they
They
were.
were Rangers. Yeah.
See, I can remember some things.
Very spec.
Um, very very spec. So they were all rangers except for Jasper. Again, he was in the army, but he was not. He was an officer in the army, but he was not a ranger per se. Um,
Yeah.
so Dom is like, I'm just gonna use her as a body, but I can't promise anything else. And
Mhm.
Bo was like, hey, that's not what we had agreed upon years before the other one screwed stuff up for us. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
Again, Bo and Dom are best friends. They like grew up together or some shit.
Mhm.
Um, they're also um, they were hoping to find a third for them.
Mhm.
They're not they don't dip wicks in each other, but they were hoping to find a third for the two of them. Um,
Yes.
and Dom's like, no, I'm not doing that again. That ruined our friendship before. And
Mhm.
Bo's like, no, other things happened. There's more to
Yes.
it. Read the book.
Clearly. There's a lot more
There's
to
a
it.
lot more
Yeah,
to
a
it.
lot more to it.
Read the book.
So this is where so they kind of all after having dinner, I think they all kind of sat around and wanted to explain the situation.
Circumstances.
She meets Jasper, who is this older guy who's very regal, long.
Mm-hmm.
He owns the house. That's his house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she gets this, you know, sense of very, she kind of relates to him immediately because he seems more like a reserved intellectual type.
Right. Which
Um,
she very much is. Like
yes.
she's it takes quite a while for her to come out of her shell, even around
Oh yeah.
Bo and Lucky, who she's immediately
Sure.
drawn to. Like Bo
Yeah.
turns on
Because
that
they're like
southern
super
charm
personable.
and
Yeah.
gets her real quick, and Lucky's just he's too happy to be sat around, I think is one
He's
of the
like a golden
quotes.
retriever. Lucky's a golden retriever.
Oh, most definitely.
Uh, so pretty quickly they lay down the fact that they all know each other from a BDSM group,
Yes.
like a meetup, very specialized ex-army or active
Active military.
military BDSM meetup.
Yes.
Um,
On top of that,
and they all
Jasper
have
is their therapist.
yes. Oh,
And
that's true. That's okay.
that's
I
how they
forgot what
initially
his
met.
profession was for a second. Yeah,
He was
that's
their
true. Yeah.
therapist, and he suggested to each of them individually to go to this club to work out their separate issues. Now,
Yes.
there's a disclaimer here. Do not go to the lifestyle to work out some issues. You can
Right.
do that, but do not seek out the
That's
lifestyle for that.
and that's like a huge asterisk too, because a lot of the misconception about the lifestyle is that oh, it's just a bunch of fucked up people that
Yeah.
need to get out their sillies with gross things. But no, that's
No.
just a trope,
That's a trope.
and I that's a trope.
Yeah. It's not true. It's not kind to think that. They're
No.
normal people just like you and me. Oh, well, maybe just like you. And people go to the lifestyle for different things. It is not, I would not say that the lifestyle replaces therapy, obviously.
Definitely not.
Um, I will say that the possibility of things being worked out while in a scene has happened, but it's not something you should look forward to if that is your goal and going into a scene.
Right.
But that's how they all meet. Is he is their therapist. They are all part of this club. And then the world went to hell, and that's why they weren't killed on
Yeah.
base with everyone else, is because they were out at the club
At
instead
this
of
club together.
yeah, separately but together.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So they left the base and made it to Jasper's Heidi home, which his parents had built many, many years before.
The name is Bristlebrook
Yes,
Manor, basically.
and it is a very, very nice house built into
It's
a
fortified too.
yes, in
Yeah.
into a mountain. It is off grid. That was something
Mhm.
that he and his father had done throughout the decades that they had owned this house. So it was a very ideal.
Did you hear that?
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on. Okay.
it's a husband temper tantrum. Um,
He might just be cooking.
he might be. I mean, the kitchen is right there on the other side of that wall. So,
It is. It is.
um, so that's where they set up base, and they've been doing very well for years. They
Mhm.
let her know that other people had been there, but due to some unrest with the civilians about who was actually running the home, which
Mhm.
was Jasper, and
Mhm.
Dom taking care of the security aspect, they eventually left. And with
Yeah.
them, Dom's girlfriend and another one of the group, Thomas, I think his name was. Thomas, who was also a ranger, left
Yes, it
with
was
her.
Thomas. Yep.
Um, so
They
that
had fallen in love.
they had
Yeah, and
fallen in
left.
love and left Dom behind. Um,
Yep.
After tearing apart Dom and Bo's relationship, you find this out throughout the book because there are
Yes.
little pieces of information that, again, it's very well written. It's you don't get just like the information; it's dispensed
It's
throughout the
a
story.
for sure. It's a show don't tell kind of
Right.
book.
Um.
Uh, it's
So
very great. Yeah.
it's very very good. So at that dinner, they decide on a schedule. She has no input on this schedule. Um.
They're drawing straws or names from a hat.
I don't remember, but I know it's done without her input. There is
Yeah.
one person at the table though that we haven't discussed yet, and
Mhm.
that is Jacob.
Yes.
Um, Jacob is a dark soul. I
Yeah.
think that's the nicest way to put it. He's very troubled. He came from
Very.
a dirt poor family. Unlike the other guys, they were all raised with money,
Hmm.
and very sure of themselves. And he was not. He was in a dark way before he joined the military, and he's a dark way after the world has
For sure.
fallen to shit.
He's definitely a haunted guy. Yeah.
Yes. Um, there's definitely been some abuse and some abandonment. And so when she comes to him, it's a very brutal pairing,
Mm-hmm.
but she recognizes something in him
Hmm.
that, because she also came from nothing. Um, they recognize something in each other. And
Yes.
he afterwards he tends to stay away from her because he thinks that she's too soft and she's taking pity on him. Um,
Yeah, which is not what's happening.
no.
Yeah, she's immediately attracted to all of these men.
Oh yeah.
It's very well apparent.
Yeah.
But
Because she
she
readily
had
is like,
been
"Okay,
married.
I'll do this." Like
She
all
had
of
been
you are
married
hot.
previously to a guy that was like in Harvard or some kind of it was at Stanford, Harvard. It was one of those Ivy
He was
Leagues.
an Ivy League kid, and then when he
Yeah.
married her, his family cut him off.
Yes,
And
because she was not of the good stock.
right.
So,
Um,
but
and
she always felt that she owed him because he had to leave everything that he knew for
right.
her. And their sex was bad,
So
apparently,
after
or just really vanilla and not a whole lot.
and unable to keep a job down, he decides to join the military. And while
Yeah.
away for 2 years, like this is like a year after they get married, he decides to ship off. And
Yes.
while he's gone, she realizes how controlling and demanding he was and decides to
Mhm.
get a divorce.
Yeah.
Which, when she explains this part of her history to the guys, Dom is immediately pissed off. How
Yeah.
dare you divorce a man while he's been
He's on duty.
on?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been deployed. All of the guys actually have a problem with that, which is actually like I totally
Makes
understand
sense.
that response. They're all military. It happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
In the real world, it happens quite a bit.
Because they're like thinking she just went and fucked and slept around.
Right,
That's their first
right. That's their
thought.
first thought. Um, and
Turns out people can be extremely nuanced.
yeah, hard to see that in a book like this, but it happens.
Right?
Um, so while all of this is going on, and she's trying to get to know these guys and adhere to a schedule, um, Jacob, they have their one time, and he stays the
Mhm.
hell away from her. Um, Lucky is a golden retriever in every sense of the word. He has absolutely no qualms about this. However, there
Mhm.
is something that she notices about him, and that's his longing for someone else in the
Mhm.
group. Um,
Yeah, whenever someone else is in the group that is around, she has noticed the difference in air, how things have become very strained,
Tense, and
intense. Yeah.
he won't talk about it, and
Yeah.
he just brushes it off and changes the
Yeah.
subject, and that quips her interests. Um,
Yes.
Bo is he's trying to woo her.
Yes.
He
He's a
doesn't
romantic.
he doesn't just think of her as a body, and basically tells her to ignore everything that Dom has told her to
Mhm.
expect. Dom stays the hell away from her as well, because he's looking at this. This is for my men, not for me. I don't want
Right.
anything to do with it. You know, if I need a body, then maybe I'll go to her, but most likely I'm gonna just suffer in silence.
I
And
think
then,
he drew the last straw or something. He's at the end of the
yeah,
list.
he's at the end of the list. And then there's Jasper, who, um, on their first date, they're just playing chess and talking about
They
books.
just play chess.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she realizes that he's trying to figure her out in a clinical way. And
Hmm.
then when she broaches the subject of not knowing him in a clinical way, he shuts down. He's
Yeah.
like, listen, I can't be that for you. I can be here as a friend, and that's all I'm going to do.
And
Um,
she feels so rejected
Absolutely.
because she was taken to Jasper, I think, the most in the beginning
Yeah.
because how they kind of clicked. They're very
Mm-hmm.
similar. She admired the way he was had this like powerful kind of air about him.
Yeah.
But the fact that even though she is there to do this duty to all of them, he just flat out views her. She thinks he views her as unworthy
Yeah.
or not good enough. Not does not meet expectations.
Yeah. And it just brings up all those feelings that she had during her marriage. Um,
Exactly.
Amongst all of this, they're all worrying about the people who were chasing her, because they realize that someone actually got away.
Hmm.
And as they're going about this, trying to um, maneuver this new relationship, she's there for a couple of weeks when they realize that their security system, which were basically game cams, um,
Yeah,
wired into
throughout their compound, and even like miles away too.
right, they have a
They just
perimeter.
want to make sure.
Some of
Yeah.
those cams have gone down.
Mm-hmm.
They've been obstructed, or they've been taken out. They've been hacked in some instances.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the compound gets raided,
Yeah.
and people get injured, severely injured, and
It's pretty scary because they get separated,
yeah, everybody gets
and
separated from everyone else, and during
Lucky takes a shot, a pretty bad
pretty
shot.
bad shot, and it becomes very apparent to the whole group that Lucky and Jasper have feelings for each other,
Yeah,
and
finally.
that's
Well, I think it's
she had
more
been cluing
apparent to
into it, but
yeah,
it becomes, I mean, and even the guys knew, but
they knew
they
something
didn't,
was going on,
yeah, they knew something was going on between the two of them, and they just were like, they'll figure it out, what's best for them.
but it was obvious in that moment
Yeah.
because he was distraught.
Yes,
Jasper was distraught.
absolutely beside himself, because like Lucky took a lot to the chest
Oh
without
no, he
armor.
would have been dead. He
Yeah.
would have been dead.
um and then once the smoke clears, they realize that she's been taken. I don't even remember her name. What's her name?
Eden.
Eden, that's right.
Yes.
So Eden's been taken, and that sets many of them off even more. Not only has their home been infiltrated and parts of
Hmm.
it destroyed, like the again, this whole place was self-sustaining. So they had
Yes.
power, they had water, they didn't have internet, but they did have a security system that was linked to itself with recording capabilities.
They
They
had video games though, so
they
like
did
that's
have
all you
video
need,
games,
really.
right? They had an Xbox or something. Um,
Yeah.
Lucky's playing it quite a few times when they're having
Hmm.
discussions because he's got ADHD and can't sit still,
Yeah.
which is remarked upon quite a few
Relatable.
times.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, they realize that she's been kidnapped. She's been taken from the compound while she was retrieving weapons because Lucky had told her where his secret cache
Secret
was.
boom boom stash was.
Yep. He's not allowed certain weapons,
he's
and
he's he's a pyro for
because
sure.
he's a fiend, and
Hmm.
he had told her where they were, so she went to retrieve them, and somebody snatched her. And if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, that's how the book ends.
Yes,
It's
it is.
it is
But so much happens in between
so
that.
much.
Obviously, a lot of tension, a lot of her, Eden, getting to know these men in the compound
Getting to
and
know
their
herself.
personalities,
She's
and
also
getting to know
like,
herself.
because
Yes.
she's just spent the last 7 years by herself, and before
Right.
that she had spent it in a loveless marriage,
Yes.
where she was manipulated, and she's starting to figure out who she actually is and who she wants to be. um,
Hmm.
and I one of the things that I enjoyed the most about it, I feel so weird about not having anything to criticize, but it's just written so well.
It's really well done. Very well done.
And
I don't think I have any criticisms at all because, again, I devoured it and, like, I didn't get any bumps. Like, usually if a book has some flaws or something that, like,
it just kind
either I
of
have to
jars
reread or it
you,
doesn't make
right?
sense, it jars me, brings me out of everything, and I have to, like, focus and go back. That did not happen. This was a very smooth,
This the
concise, just
story was very it flowed. Like
yes,
everything that happened, you could see the reasoning for it happening. It was like a logical step,
right.
you know? Like I didn't find myself going, but why with this was the
Yeah.
case? Like I didn't have to stop and skim back to figure out
Mhm.
if I had missed something. No, is it, I don't want to say it was linear, but it
Mhm.
did feel like, okay, so this happens, so this happens, and that because that happened, this happens.
And not a lot of forced drama either.
No,
Everything
no.
happened, every interaction happened organically. Um, everyone was an adult about everything,
Yeah.
which was fantastic and a breath of fresh air when they just act like a normal human being would act
Like an
in this
adult.
situation,
Like an
like an
adult.
adult.
Cuz all of these people, they're not in their early 20s,
No,
or late teens. These are
no,
adults, and they act like adults in the kind of situation that they're finding themselves in. And
yeah.
I found that so nice.
It was so refreshing. Refreshing to have every character know who they were,
Mhm.
and except for I guess the main character, but that's the thing. Like I feel like she was strong in her convictions
Mhm.
and not at all self-conscious, but she uh was only she had a gap in her she felt like she had a gap in her sexual knowledge
Mhm.
because she was so
Right.
inexperienced. But
Well, and
um,
even I do want to point out, like the her she's not just having sex with all these guys, like, and
no,
that is made quite apparent in the story.
mhm,
Like that, yes, her reason here is to be a companion for each of them, but when she's not, she is free to do whatever she wants. They
yeah,
did tell her that, like, you're expected to do your part, but you're not expected to be like the maid or whatever. And what she finds herself doing is she tends their garden for them. because she knows a
Mhm.
lot about plants because she read on horticulture, and when the world
Mhm.
turned to shit, she took those books with her. So now
Yeah.
she's raising their garden and it's doing
Mhm.
better.
Yeah.
um she has decided that one of the things she can do, because she is over the moon about having the this accessible to her, she does all their
Mhm.
laundry. No one
Yeah.
asks her to, but she does it.
Yeah.
And when the washing machine breaks down, because they have one, she's out
Mhm.
there scrubbing it by hand. And like,
Mhm.
nobody remarks upon the fact that they're like, oh, what is Eden doing? But they don't like,
Mhm.
what the fuck is she doing touching my clothes? No, they're like, oh, well, now we don't have to do that since the washing machine is down.
Yeah,
It
and these
goes.
guys have all been self-sustaining for 7 years, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just great to have someone just kind of assimilate into their routine so naturally, and they're all very impressed and like kind of touched by it.
Right.
Uh,
Even Dom is like, at times he kind of takes a step back and he's like, well, at least she's not, the most he can say is at least she's not draining the resources. She's actually
yeah,
helping provide
he's
to.
being so stubborn.
He's being so
He's being so
kind.
stubborn.
Um,
Yeah.
it's just, I don't. I again, there's not anything that I can pinpoint. Like, this is what, if I were the author, this is what I would have written, or if this I
Hmm.
was that character, this is what I would have done. Because it's everything is thought out so well, or it's edited so well that everything each character does seems like it would fit into their personality.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. I feel like every interaction was organic. They all did things that they absolutely the character true to their character.
right.
I believe the author did a fantastic job in creating these people, these fleshed out people with their own personalities, wants, desires, and needs. Um, that are so different from one another, but can live together in harmony.
Yeah.
And, well, mostly harmony. She kind of throws a wrench in the fray,
Yeah.
but what I think it's who Jasper finally admits towards the end, saying how um, she was the one who basically forced all these secrets to bubble to the surface
Right.
and
She does. I think
force
she.
them out in the open because she's the X Factor and everyone else was just kind of ignoring their issues and going with the flow, and because she is this X Factor that comes in, disrupts their ecosystem, all of their problems that they had with one another come bubbling to the surface.
Right.
um, so it's really good.
It's really good. We definitely
Yeah.
recommend this one. And we hope that you guys join us for the next discussion on the second book. Uh,
Yes.
if you
It's
have,
much bigger.
it's there's a lot more
So
in it. Oh my gosh. So
it's huge.
was were
We
there
have a lot to discuss about this one.
the other one might be a two-parter. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
probably.
There's so much more in that.
There's a
So
lot that happens.
we're coming up on our hour. Were there
Mhm.
any quotes or passages that stood out to you? What does your reading log say? Because I know you are much better at that than I am.
Uh, so let me quickly skim my. So basically, when I first started this smut journey, I was looking for this kind of genre stuff. I was like, I did not know this existed. Apparently, this came out July, almost a whole year ago, July 10th of 2023. Um, and I had read The Den of Vipers, which is kind of it's also a harem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you can't distinguish those people apart. The plot was garbage.
Yeah, that one I
The
would not recommend
protagonist
that one
was
at all.
awful. Yeah, like just you make the comparison because it's also five guys and in a dangerous situation,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all looking out for one another, all very closely like close with each other in a more than brotherly way. Um, but this is so different because each character is taken with care, and they all have their own agendas with each other and this baggage that comes out, and it's just mwah. So, um,
That was
this is
chef's
what
kiss
this
for
is what
those
I was
listening on the
looking for.
podcast. That was a chef's
Yes,
kiss.
chef's kiss. 10 out of 10. Um, let's see. Yeah, it's it. Yeah, I said this is a smut. It's at least half sex scenes. Um, and if you're not into BDSM, skip this one because it goes heavily into that.
But
The
like in
next
a
one
subtle
more
way.
so.
Like I
Yeah,
found this one to be very subtle. Like Jasper is very much a
yeah.
controlled dom. Uh, uh,
Well, he's
Lucky
a
is a
sadist.
right. Lucky is
Yeah.
a switch with submissive
Oh,
tendencies.
yes. Yeah.
Uh, Bo is also. They're almost all dominants. Um,
Yeah. But that's what Dominic said. There
right.
was a bunch of Dom,
They're all a bunch of
but they're all
doms.
different. They're
Right.
all different.
So Bo is definitely, I would say Bo is a pleasure dom.
Yes.
Jacob
And
is,
a role player.
yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys gotta wait for
That
book two. Um,
second one's so good.
Jacob is a primal dom.
Yes.
And then what was Dominic though? I don't
We
think
don't
it's ever.
know because that never
He
happens
stays
in
away
this
from
book.
her.
Yep.
He stays away from her. Oh,
Yeah. I don't want to spoil book 2 yet, but yeah,
oh my
he
gosh,
stays away from her
it's a good one.
throughout this one.
Well, guys, I think that's the end of this one. What? Give us the title one more time and the author so that those who want to
Yes.
read this now can. I hope we haven't
Ensnared
spoiled too
by
much.
Rebecca
And
Quinn.
even if we have, it's worth the read. I've read it
Mhm.
twice now. Cass is going to read it again now that she has the
Mhm.
copy in her hand. Um, yeah, so we're gonna post this one, and we're gonna follow up with the second book in our next discussion. We're always looking for another series. It's gotta, well, it doesn't have to be good. We'd prefer it to be good,
We
but
prefer it to be good. I don't want my life to be miserable. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. You guys, if you really, really want us to read something, go for it.
yes,
Put it in there.
put it in the comments. Tell us on Discord. We have a channel specifically for book recommends.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna make it make it a thread so that or not a thread but a forum so that
Mhm.
we can have book recommends for book of the month and book recommends for series. Um, we don't have any stipulations on how long the series is, but we will be honest with you because none of this is being sponsored. All these books are being purchased by us. We're not being beholden by anybody. In
Yeah.
fact, anything you see on this channel or here in this podcast, unfortunately, we've shelled out the bucks for it. So like, we're gonna
Yes.
give you our honest opinions. This is one of our favorites by far.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
That's why I purchase the books. I don't always purchase the books until I absolutely love them.
yeah. If you're
So.
watching the YouTube channel, look on that bookshelf, y'all. I see an Enterprise. I see dragons. I see an octopus. There ain't a lot of
All
books
kinds
up
of shit.
there.
No. No, they're all kind of down here. And
Yeah.
even then, there's CD. Yeah, it's not a lot of books.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. We hope to
Yeah,
hear
thank you.
or hear from you and see you in the next video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let your friends know. We'd love to have more people in the Pretty Little Death Book Club,
Mhm.
and on the Discord. Because, like I said, we're planning for things in the future. So,
Yes.
thank you guys so much for joining us. Cass, do you have a book recommend for me this week?
Um, yes, I do. Let me get my phone out here. Yes, I have and it's called